She recently took the role of CEO of Yaquby Industries, a multi-generational, family-owned retail and distribution business. She's worked closely with international brands, including Procter & Gamble, DeLonghi, and Breitling. Her talk, Crowdsourced Creativity, communicates to us directly how, in an age of uncertainty, crowdsourcing has become the business model game changer and technology its ultimate tool to take it to the next level. Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Banan Yaquby.
Thank you. It's a great honor to be here tonight, part of the first creative season under Ithra. It's been an inspiring 2 days. So Quby is a multidisciplinary design firm based in the Kingdom of Bahrain. I'm the founder and creative director. We believe in elevating the role of design as a universal language. That's our ultimate goal. We create sustainable branding that tells your story. I'm sure a lot of you're just a causeway away, so if I show you some of the work we've done, you'll be more familiar with what Quby is, but maybe you don't really know the name, and you've probably experienced some of the brands we've worked on. So I'll just take you through an overview of some of the brands that we've worked with. So Nomad Urban Eatery is one of our recent projects. This is just a glimpse of the branding that was done for them. Black, it's a specialty coffee bar. She's actually a Saudi female entrepreneur that opened her concept in Bahrain. It's a great place to check out. I'm not being biased because we've developed it, but it is a great concept. Villa Mamas, I'm sure a lot of you have been to Villa Mamas. It's one of the first projects we've branded. Mamnoon, a Mediterranean street food concept. The Orangery still remains one of my favorites. It's a tea room and patisserie. Besides to the food industry, we've also worked with a lot of retail clients. Link Atelier is an architect firm and also a retail outlet. House of Tea is a furniture concept. Saudi Design Week, we've been working closely for the last 2 years with Saudi Design Week, and it's been a great pleasure to work with them. And last year's theme, 2017, was actually inspired by the Qat art from the southern region, which Mohammed and Munira just spoke about. So we actually modernized the geometric elements that are used in Qat art, and we created a formula which was design multiplied by whatever you believe design is. And this year, since their theme was sustainability, we actually worked on readapting what we did last year without really creating something from scratch. Just to let people understand that sometimes you can work with what you have and readapt it into something new that can still be appealing. So how did it all start? So I'm sure a lot of you are wondering, why does she have a sentence that says as flat as a pancake on the screen? When I was first asked to talk at Ithra and they told me that the topic is disruption, I started thinking that what am I going to talk about? But then when I started thinking more about it, I realized that sometimes there are minor and there are major things that happen in your everyday life that can really disrupt what you're used to within your comfort zone. And as a designer, since 2003, when I graduated from school, I knew that I wanted to be a designer. I wanted to be a graphic designer, and I had my mind set on that. I was known between my siblings to be a semi-nerd. And when I graduated, I was from the top 6 in school. I did full IB, I did all of that. And everyone was like, you want to be a designer? What are you going to do? Like, why not a doctor? Why not an engineer? And I still remember, though, that my father backed me up saying you should do what you're passionate about. And back then, I wanted to study in Central St. Martin's in London. And I applied, I completed my application, and I was about to enroll. And every time we got closer to the date, my mother was living in denial, and she was very uncomfortable with the fact that I was going to go abroad. And I'm sure a lot of females might relate to this, where sometimes our parents can be overprotective. And at the end, I just realized that she was really not comfortable with me going, so I decided to stay. just so that I wouldn't do something against her will. But I also made a deal with her that I'm not going to enroll in any university in the Gulf because I was not convinced that I wanted to be within their design curriculums because they were fairly new back then. I wanted to be in an established school. So she agreed. She's like, you can take a semester off, see what you decide and where you want to go. So I was free, I had nothing to do. Whenever anyone traveled, I'd just tag along. So a few months down the holiday I was taking, my grandparents were going to Beirut. So I decided to go to Beirut. I went, I loved the city, it was my first visit to Beirut, and I visited the Lebanese American University and I decided to enroll. It was great. The experience I gained from Beirut was amazing, but as everyone knows, it's not politically stable there. So every few months, something would happen. My mom would call me, take me back on the first flight back to Bahrain. I would have to repeat a semester, repeat a prerequisite, and it was a never-ending story. Until the war broke out in 2006, and she said, I don't care if you go to Mars, but you're not going back to Beirut. So that's when I transferred to the US, and I graduated from Marymount. So I lived in Washington, D.C. for a year and a half. When I came back to Bahrain in 2008, again, I had my mind set on the fact that I was going to work in a design firm. And I was a freelancer back then, and I was working on my own even when I was studying. And the moment I came back, I had a conversation with my uncle. And he was like, so what are you planning to do? And when I told him that I'm gonna work in an agency, the first thing he said in Arabic, ما عندنا بنات يشتغلون برا, which basically means we don't have girls that work outside the family. And I knew he was joking because I know that they support us as females in the family and our career. But it was him indirectly telling me that we want you to work in the family business. Even though the family business was in retail and distribution, it was an established business from 1949, and they were running and they were like representing multinationals like Procter & Gamble, Breitling, Victorinox. And I was like, what value am I going to add to your business? Why do you want me to be part of it? So we agreed together that I'm going to join the family business for 2 weeks. If I like what I see and if I feel like I can add value, I'll stay. If not, I'll leave. I'm still part of the family business. It's 2018, but not full-time anymore. I'm focusing on Quby now, but yeah, I'm still with them 10 years down the line. But I did everything in Yaquby but design. So it was the most disrupting thing that ever happened to me. And the reason I've put the sentence up is because this sentence was a sentence that remained with me and really changed the way I look at business structures. So the first meeting I had 2 months after I joined the family business was with the head of the lower Gulf for Procter & Gamble. So we go into the room and I'm happy and I think everything is fine and the business is doing well. And he sits me down and he's like, it's great to see a Yaquby, it's great to see a female, it's great to see new blood, but business is as flat as a pancake. So I was there, so a designer that knew nothing about numbers, and he says that, and I'm like, how and why? And he opens up these Excel sheets, and I knew nothing with numbers, and I was just there listening to what he had to say. But he left me with one sentence saying that you really need to develop the people in the company, because Yaquby has been always dealing with family-owned businesses, and Braun, before it was bought over by Procter & Gamble, was family-owned, and then when it went into multinational, everyone got confused because they didn't know how to deal with them. But the issue was that we didn't have employees that were developed enough, because anyone who owns a family business would know that usually it's all about loyalty. You're good, it's trust, they take you up the rank, but it's never really about developing people. So I had to disrupt the board members, sit with them, and really convince them that it's time to change, and we need to develop the people we have. So for maybe 1 month, I went through 200 CVs, interviewed tons of people until I appointed a new GM. And alhamdulillah, now today they've won 3 global awards from Procter & Gamble, 2 global awards and 1 regional award for their execution. And what I want to take out of this is that it was all about the people and developing them and making them make a difference. So when I established Quby, this was the first thing I had in my mind, that I am going to really focus on the people that I have and nurturing the people that I have. So Quby started back then in 2010 with 4 people, now we're 20, alhamdulillah. We're 90% local, only around 10% regional. It's all about nurturing the talents we have. We were trying to elevate the understanding of design, and we're creating design thinkers. So it's more than just having doers or people who know how to use the softwares. We want them to really develop themselves as design thinkers. I always get questioned on a daily basis, how do you work with local talents? This is some of the questions I get asked is, are they serious? Are they committed? I always get questioned that question, and to be very honest, as a founder, I always ask myself, what will make them want to stay? Or what makes them want to commit? And when I was establishing Quby, it was a very confusing time because at that time, it was the first time we started hearing about crowdsourcing. And at around 2009, 2010, you'd hear about crowdsourcing in everything, like Kickstarter, and then in creativity, and in branding, and in advertising. So for anyone who's not familiar with crowdsourcing, you can just think of the internet as one big crowdsourcing tool, because it's just basically the mass putting going out to the mass to actually get what you need. And it's been used frequently in the creative world now. Just to give you a few examples how global brands are using it. Recently, Samsung and Alexander Wang. So what Samsung did is they went out to creatives and they went out to the mass and they took photos that were taken by the Galaxy Samsung, and then they partnered with Alexander Wang and printed them on bags. So again, you can see how the model is changing. They're not really going to they weren't really going to, maybe there are agencies who are helping them execute, but the agencies are not what they're going to from the beginning. And then you have Oreo with their daily twists. When they were celebrating their 100th anniversary, they launched all the artworks on social media, on their Facebook, and they asked people to vote, again, going out to the mass. And it actually increased their Facebook activity by 4,000%. And PepsiCo, they did a Do Us a Flavor in 2012 when they felt that their chips with millennials is not as popular anymore, and they were able to boost their sales by 8%. So basically they did a 1 million prize for whoever comes up with the next flavor, again through the internet and through reaching out to the mass. Lego with their idea platform. So you can pitch an idea, and if you get over 10,000 votes, they will actually produce it. And this is what happened with the Beatles edition. Google Doodle contest, I'm sure you're familiar with it. It's for students from KGs to 12th grade, so they can submit, and besides to being used on Google, you also get a scholarship. So again, they're reaching out to the mass. Coca-Cola, they're very big on using it all the time, and they always use for their contests that they launch for the mass. Oral-B recently launched their success story with making their toothbrush the first integrated toothbrush, again by the mass. So in less than 22 days, they got 67 ideas through IKEA.com. So this is how brands were shifting towards getting their creative work, or reaching out to the public to get their creative work rather than agencies. And then you also had these platforms that were growing. So I'm just going to mention 4 of them now. Like CrowdSpring, for example, they have over 200,000 creatives from over 195 countries. They have over 500,000 projects completed. 99 Designs call themselves the biggest online graphic design marketplace. And they have one design uploaded every second on their platform. Over 400,000 happy customers. They've paid designers over 200 million. Design Crowd have over 600,000 freelance designers with over 19 million crowdsourced designs. IKEA.com is basically mainly a contest platform. So Unilever, P&G, Coca-Cola, they use them to submit contests, and then the crowd can actually win a prize if they actually submit something and it's chosen. So whether we like it or not, it's really disrupting the business model that we know in agencies. And at the time that I was establishing the company, this was all happening around me. Like, why would a designer want to work with me? They can just go to put themselves on a crowdsourced platform, have someone like Coca-Cola on their portfolio if they actually win the contest. And I'm not going to really talk about whether we love it or hate it, because that's another debate on its own. Is it a nightmare for established designers? Are brands being cheap? Are people going towards $200 logo? That's a story on its own. But this leads us to basically think about how we can utilize the pros of crowdsourced platforms in our own businesses. So why are designers really interested in these platforms? What's different about them versus other structures? Yes, it's true that an agency might give them stability, but at least here with the platforms, they have no hierarchy. There's freedom of creativity, there's openness, it's borderless, it's flexible, you can do whatever you want to do. So with Quby, what we actually thought of is how can we incorporate this within our own structure? How can we be more lenient so that we can be more appealing for the new generation and make it a stable structure that would actually nurture them? So what we've done is we've created an adaptable structure within Quby. So we have no hierarchy. So basically, we don't have an art director. So a junior, a senior is not the boss of a junior, for example. There are rotating roles. They work together. We have internal design squads. So they learn from each other. If someone is better, they teach the other person. And we need to admit, like, I'm good at branding. I have my background in branding. But if I have a junior that comes in and he's really good with social media or really good with film, I need to listen to what he's telling me. I cannot dictate him. So I would need to give him the grounds for him to actually perform and be the best he can without feeling that someone is telling him or spoon-feeding him. And sometimes you would get amazed with the results when you do that. And when you empower them, they take ownership of their projects. So ultimately, at the end, when you see the work that we've done, when people come and tell me, oh, Banan, you, I say, it's not you, it's a team, you know? And if I didn't have this team and I didn't have them to actually, and didn't give them the freedom to create, the end result would never be what you see today from the outcome of the work that we've done. And one thing that I really say all the time is that we're all guilty of this with commercial work. We need to do it for cash flow, you know, but designers are not robots. If you want them to produce, you need to continue inspiring them. You need to let them feel that they're fulfilling their, their needs as a designer. So we've always wanted to create, and we've been always thinking, how can we be a very people-led organization in the time of digital transformation? So what we created and alhamdulillah launched, we've been dreaming about it for 4 years, and we finally launched it in Saudi Design Week, was our platform of co-creation within the company. So we initially started just within the company, and that's where we take our passion projects forward. So basically what happens is any designer within the company that has a dream or has a project that they want to produce, they don't really need to wait for the future. Because a lot of them sometimes say, yeah, I'm working now, but this is my ultimate dream. But why is it a dream? You know, so through our platform, which we've called Trunk 99, the designer can come forward with any idea that she or he has. We'd work on producing it, we'd work on making it reality, and they would co-own in the project, and ultimately they can fulfill their needs of being a designer besides to doing the commercial work. So what you see here, we had the Subha, reinventing the Subha in Saudi Design Week. This was actually led by Fatma, one of our designers, and she had a dream of developing a jewelry line in the future. So we kick-started this under Trunk, where we created a jewelry line that is inspired from the Subha, because the theme in Saudi Design Week was sustainability, so it had multiple uses. So it's a Subha that's a choker, and you can actually take it off and use it for your prayers and then put it back on. Similarly, we had a collaboration with Crow and Knit, which is a collaboration with Sheikha, another designer under Quby, and Crow and Knit was already an established brand that does cotton yarn. And we did a full installation that was about weaving fabric waste from designers that we collected from over 2 months before the event, and it was a great success. So again, just seeing how their eyes was basically sparkling in the event when they were so overwhelmed with all the feedback that they got, for me was a great sense of achievement. You know, it made me feel like, wow, you know, for me this is worth more than the projects that we've actually developed over the past 8 years. So what's next for Quby and what we actually want to do with all of this? We're really trying to change the way everyone thinks about creativity in the region. Sadly, I must say it's always thought of in a singular effort. People always think of it from a singular point of view. So why not really transform the mindset to have creativity as a social activity that can really create change, to really collaborate with others and believe that when you're a group of people working towards one goal, your ultimate result will be much better. And for Quby, we're hoping that we can actually take this case study that we've done in Trunk and also implement it on our permanent structure as an agency, where maybe we can have co-ownership in our own agency with the designers and have them as partners. And I'm sure many of you are familiar with agencies like Pentagram, for example. They have partners in co-ownership. It's not necessarily perfect for our region, but we're working on studying how we could create something that they can also be permanent owners in. Thank you. I hope this inspires you. These are our social media channels. You're you're more than welcome to connect with us. And if you're a designer and you have anything in mind, you can connect with Trunk. We'll be more than happy to support you.
Thank
Questions.
you, Ms. Yaquby. And
Thank you.
I learned today that it's called Quby. Thank you so much. We are now taking questions.
Show of hands.
No, like let's not have the lights on my face because I can't see.
I'm trying to.
Are we
Oh,
good?
there we go. There's a question on the 5th row. Yes, thank you.
Hi, thank you so much for being here. I loved your ideas completely. I just have one question because your ideas and your mindset is completely different from what is happening in the world right now. So what are the core challenges when you make your own team with this idea?
I think the main challenge, I would always say, obviously, when you're creating your team, the main point is how you choose the team. So if you are very familiar with the goals that you have in mind, when you interview people or meet people, you actually know what you're looking for in the person. So you need to really make sure that you're compatible from that sense, and you would just feel it. You would feel it. Like from day one, you'd know if the person is living and breathing your goals and your values, or if they're not.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You be my eyes because I cannot see anything.
I think there's one there.
There we go. Thank you for being
Yeah.
both our eyes.
Give us compass directions.
We did see
okay,
a hand.
this
Yes, there
gentleman
we go.
here
3rd row.
in the
please.
3rd row.
I'm getting better at my numbers. Thanks for the practice.
Assalamu alaikum.
Michael says.
يعطيكم العافية. Thank you. I would like to hear more about the situation that you brought up where you were the disruption for your family business, trying to add value in a way that it was not there. It's very disruptive, and a lot of companies are going through that right now. So I would like to hear more about that. Thank you.
So he wants me to elaborate more on that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I must tell you one thing. I can talk about this for 10 hours because it's a never-ending story. But I truly believe that, again, especially for me, when I joined the family business, I was the first female among 70 men. And I was 23 years old. So it wasn't easy, but you need to always look at what you need to achieve. So I had the support. Luckily, I had the support of the brands because they wanted change. So they were supporting me to drive this change. And you're not always lucky to have that, but because I had their backing and I had their, I had their support, where they said that if you want to move forward, we want her. She needs to do what, and that gave me more power to really work on the change. It didn't come overnight. I had sleepless nights. I had to do so much, but you need to never let the small things that disrupt you in between stop you from where you want to reach. I've crashed on certain days. I've cried. I've gone to market visits where I'm like, this is not what they want to see. You're gonna go through all of that, but you just need to continue looking at where you want to reach, and you will reach if you're laser focused on that.
Are we all good?
I think we can always touch base. You're at a close proximity to us. If anyone has a question, maybe they can reach out even afterwards.
Yes.
She's pretty connected on social media also.
And we're in Saudi a lot. We're in Bahrain. If you ever need to talk to us, you can just reach out to us.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
so much.
Thank you.